After writing 2 jams, 5 Asuu strikes, and 9 years in medical school, this is how I finally became a doctor in a federal university in Nigeria.
J5.
Hi loves, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Hilda. My YouTube channel is about health and lifestyle. If this is your first time stopping by this channel, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoy my videos and I hope you subscribe. Please subscribe and join the family. So in today's video, I want to talk to you all about how I got into medicine in a federal university in Nigeria and how it went and why I even decided to read medicine. So if it's something you want to know, if you want to hear the gist, sit back and enjoy the video. So let's start with why I decided to read medicine. If you watched my intro video, that's my first YouTube video, I explained how I got interested in reading medicine, how I did better in science subjects, and just subtle talks of my mom saying, "You want to be a doctor?" All those kind of things, and it just grew in my head, and I wanted to be a doctor. So let's move to how I eventually got to read medicine in a federal university, getting admission and the rest of that. If you want to read medicine in Nigeria in secondary school, that's after your 6 years, just want to SS3, you will have to write JAM, WAEC, NECO, and the rest of that. And you have to have good grades. That is, before any school we even consider, you have to meet the general cutoff score, which is about 180. I don't know if it has changed, but during my time it was at least 180. Then for some courses like medicine, they have a higher cutoff mark. So when I finished secondary school in my SS3, I wrote JAM and WAEC and NECO. So my first JAM, the result wasn't so good. I think I got to 213, 213. I was still hoping I was going to get medicine, but most of the cutoff marks for universities were from 240, 250 and the rest. And if you have higher scores like 270, 280, you know that you have a higher chance of getting into medicine. So for my first JAM, I applied into ABU Zaria. I went for the post-GME, then we write post-GME, and I didn't get admission. They didn't even give me education or any other course, like no admission. And after secondary school, then if you can relate, you will know what I'm talking about. Like everybody was just so eager to leave secondary school, start university, how you be free university. You were all eager to get into university. So I was really sad when I didn't get admission. So the plan was to write JAM again the next year. So my uncle advised us, he was like, instead of staying back at home and not doing anything, why don't you try and start doing remedials or something, a program, A-levels or something. So my parents tried to get me to do remedials in University of Jos, but at that time it was already late. They had already started the program and they were not taking more people for remedials. And I ended up doing diploma. I know. You guys, I know who does diploma. I did diploma. So during this year of diploma, that was when I moved to Jos. I studied diploma in SLT and the rest of that. In fact, I used to be so shy. Like I didn't want people to ask me what course I was reading, and I'll tell you that I'm not 100 level. But during that period, I feel like it really, really helped me because rather than staying at home watching movies, being on to go and all those Facebook and the rest of that, I was actually going to school every day and I was trying to read for my JAM at the same time. So when it got to like registering for JAM again the second time, my mom actually bought the JAM form. They used to sell these cards. I don't know if that's what they still do now. They used to sell these JAM cards and you buy the JAM card and you go to a cyber cafe and register. I think it comes with a code or something like that. So my mom actually got the card and my brother and I were meant to register and the rest of that. Guess what? We actually did not register. We procrastinated and procrastinated until JAM was almost over. I can remember telling my mom, she was so angry. Even before I started diploma, yeah, the period I was at home, like I was sad. In fact, my dad was even telling me that, are you sure you don't want to read another course like economics and the rest of that? This was before I actually even went to just to do diploma. Telling me that, don't I want to read another course like economics? Maybe I'll go to BS University, something like that. I even had thoughts of going to read another course because I was actually tired of being at home. All my mates had 100 level and the rest of that. I just couldn't wait to start university. And then my mom now said, are you sure? Like she just kept on advising me and encouraging me that I should be patient, I should wait. I don't want to rush. If I really want to read medicine, I should just be patient and I will get it eventually. So I didn't do any other course. And I remember at the same time, before I went to start diploma at University of Jos, at Fair Babalola University, after taking the first set of admissions, like people had already resumed, they called to write entrance exam again to the school if you want to read medicine, anatomy, physiology, and the rest of that. So I thought this was my shot. I messaged some of my classmates that were there, I asked them how the school was and the rest of that. I was going to write the entrance exam and the rest of that to come into the school. So I prepared. I didn't even know what I was reading. I sure read those revision things, normal jam things. I was trying to go through the booklet and the rest of that. When we got there, they told us that, oh, sorry, there's no space for medicine except if you want to read another course like anatomy or physiology. And if you do so well after the first year, they'll give you admission. I was already discouraged because I felt that if I start reading anatomy, if I start reading another course, I would end up settling for that course and I'll be discouraged. What if I don't even do so well? Because I heard that people that they tell you that they're going to change your course, you have to do really, really well. And if you don't, you just have to settle for that course and you want to come back to read the course you want to do this after 4 years, after getting your first degree. So I just told my mom. My mom asked me, do you want to write? I told her no. She was like, don't worry, don't worry, my daughter, you get admission. I was so teary at that time. That was now before I started diploma in JOS. So fast forward to diploma in JOS. So while I was in my diploma in JOS, I was also reading for JAM, and then the whole procrastination and how I almost missed my slot. So when it was now when we went to register, they said that was when they started the computer based JAM writing. That's where the pioneers. That was the year they started computer based form of JAM writing. So they said if you want to write, the options were that if you want to write the paper based, it will be in Taraba State, like a very far place. And I was staying in Abuja then. It will be in Taraba State. I'm from Taraba State, I understand, but it will be in one local government. Like, it was very, very far. The road was bad. If you want to write paper based, that's the option, or you write the computer based because the paper based was fully booked. People did not want to book for the computer based because like what if the computer should go off or in Nigeria? So we went back home and thought about it. And then my brother was like, you're always with laptop, you're always with computer. It's like a simple, it won't be hard. You're like, okay, let me just do the computer base. And that's how I settled for the computer base. I went back to school, I was still doing diploma, reading for JAM. A lot of us in diploma class were still studying for JAM. So we would have group discussions, encourage each other and the rest of that. And then time for JAM came. I traveled back to ABJ because the location was in ABJ. I was schooling in just at the time. I traveled back to ABJ and I wrote the exam and it was really nice. It was very normal, like it was not hard, like there was no problem with the computer. Luckily they didn't take light, it didn't log me out, it was successful. And after a few days the results were out. It didn't even take so long. I can't really remember, but the results were shot out. At this time, I was back to JOS, and I was very scared of checking the result. Like, God, this second time I'm writing JAM. Please, I have to do so well this year. I tried to read harder. You know how maybe secondary school you have distractions, unnecessary distractions. This time, like I was more grown and I prepared more and I was expecting a better result and I was scared at the same time. So I can remember my friend Soma was the one that helped me check and she told me like my score. I was so excited. I got to 53. Like I was so happy. Then I that was JAM. So at that time, I think they've stopped post-UTME, but during back then, after writing JAM, you're going to write post-UTME and they're going to use these two scores to give you to know whether they will give you admission. Apart from this course, Nigerian Federal Universities, there's something they do, like they give preference to people from that state. In addition to the people from that state, they also give priority to people in the catchment area. So Taraba State was not actually a catchment area for University of Jos, but the advantage that I had was that Taraba State is considered as an education disadvantaged state. So if you're from that state, if they see that you're from that state, they want to give you an admission, like to encourage people from that state because it's very underdeveloped. You don't have people coming out of Taraba to read medicine or even go to school in another state. So that was an advantage. And so after JAM, applying and the rest of that, I went for post-UTME. That post-UTME was dramatic. God, we suffered. I even pity because I was even used to JOS. I was used to the cold and the rest of that. I even pity people that came out from like that came from traveled from different states to come and write the exam because there were canopies outside, a lot of people, and it was computer based, and they were taking so much time. Rain started falling. It became so cold, like so cold. My fingers were numb, like we were so cold. Eventually wrote the exam. I don't even know how I wrote that post-UTME. It was computer based. I tried to be fast and the rest of that, but I was not sure. You know how you write an exam and you're not sure like how it's going to turn out and the rest of that. Sha, fast forward, I think there was Asu strike. That was when that 2013 Asu strike actually started. So I was back home after writing the post GMA. I can't remember if it was Asu strike or we were on holiday from diploma. So I was back home and the results was released, and I remember asking my friend, like I never used to check my results. Like I always beg people to check for me. It was my second time, so I was like everything was heightened. I was scared. I was very anxious, and I just couldn't check. My heart was just beating. I told my friend to help me check, and when she checked, she was like, "Hey God, Hilda, you failed though." God, I just felt one deep pain in my chest. I'm like, not again. Is this how I'm going to stay out of school? Or maybe I'm not going to read medicine again. And then she said she was joking. So I passed. I think I got 68 over 100, 68%, and I passed. Like it was very okay. I was even very surprised because that mass that was in that post exam, I couldn't even feel my thumb. Like my fingers were numb when I was writing that exam. So I was really surprised and impressed about the score. So at this point, I started praying God. I prayed so hard. I was like, God, please just give me this admission in medicine, please. And eventually, I think it was in October. At that time, there was ASU strike. It was in October, and they said, like they started releasing the list for admission. The way it happens, or it used to happen then, was that they'll start releasing from the first list, second list, and then my brother and I went to the cyber cafe to check if I got admission. When we logged into Jamb portal, God, I was so scared. My heart was really beating so hard. Like I don't think my heart, like I've been so scared even through medical school, writing all the exam, like how I was scared during that period before I got admission. And I just saw congratulations, you've been given admission to study medicine, a 6 year course in University of Jos medicine. I was so excited. I can remember walking back home because cyber cafe was not far from my house. I can remember I was walking back home and we went back home. We told my mom. I was so happy. Everybody was excited, and that was how I started reading medicine. I got admission into University of Jos to read medicine. So now reading medicine in proper, God, there were a lot of ups and downs. There were period that I was very depressed, and the reason I was depressed was just because of the amount of time it took to just read this 6 year course that they said turned out to be 9 to 10 years, and this is even without failing any exam, passing all my exams, and it took so much time because we had like 4 ASU strikes. First off, when we were given this admission in 2013, there was one very long ASU strike that was eventually called off. Was it December or so? But I can remember we resumed in January 2014 and we resumed 100 level, 200 level, 300 level. Then I can remember there was another ASU strike in 2016 or so. Then in 2017 there was another strike. Then there was this very long strike. We were meant to finish in 2020. That was resumed in 2014 plus 6 years. That's 2020. But we already even had one extra year already because if we had resumed 2013, we would have finished 2019. But because of that initial ASU strike in the beginning of the resumption, we were going to finish 2020, and then COVID came. ASU and that long ASU strike came. I don't remember how long this lasted. I think about 10 months or so. And we were just at home. And during that period, everybody was very low. And even before this last ASU strike in 2020 happened, God, it was so bad. It's our fifth MB. After the exam, we had just 6 more months to spend in school and write our final exam. And during this exam, I can remember it was O and G exam. There was ASU strike during that period, but medical students were still writing exam. And I can remember how the ASU officials came into the class. If you are my class when you're watching this, we can remember that day everybody was so sad, everybody was complaining, everybody was shouting. It was so dramatic. They actually seized our papers and collected the exam questions, and that's how that exam ended. And we went home for a very long time. COVID happened, we were just at home. Eventually came back after ASU strike and COVID, everything was down, was everything was okay. We came back and finished. Even that when we came back and finished, remember there was, apart from the part of ASU strike, I also schooled in a place where there was a lot of crisis. In that final 6 months, we had a break. Just my school, no ASU strike this time around. So you can see that a lot of forces were working like around this reading of medicine in this school. There was serious crisis that period. I think it was 2021. So we didn't end up writing our final year 2021 because we had to stay at home because of security purposes and the rest of that. But eventually we wrote our final exam in 2021 November, and we got inducted 2022 March. This has been a very long story. But if you want to read medicine in Nigeria, I just advise that try to pass your jam very well. Try to do everything. Try to read very hard. Like, it's actually worth putting your best shot to pass your exam, so that you know that you've done the best you can do. Every other thing is in God's hand, and every other person to do their work. I've come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for listening to my long story. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed watching, and subscribe if you're yet to. Also turn on the bell icon so you're notified when I post a video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
So go, 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 go.